Okay. All right, friends, we're going to walk through some of this just for the next 30 minutes, see how much we can get through. But as always, first we got to mount our drive, right? My data is located here. I've already downloaded this. I've already saved it in my Google Drive. So I mount my drive. I come here, I click this, I mount it, I run this guy, and then now I'm going to go into my drive. I'm going to go into data science. I'm going to go into my data. Now I'm working with Super Bowl numbers. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to click copy path. And what I want to do is I'm actually going to do a couple things, right? First, as always, I need to do my import. So I'm going to say import pandas as PD. And I'm going to say import, if I can spell it correctly, numpy as NP. Cool. So I've imported those. Now I want to load my data. So I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to say SB equals. So I'm just going to call this SB. This is my data frame name. You can call it obviously anything you want. I could call it SB underscore DF, but I'm lazy. So I'm just going to say SB as PD dot. This is a CSV. So I'm going to say read CSV. Now I also could have done something like this, like file path. Probably a little bit more clean. I would have done something like this. And then this value can just be file path. Cool. Now I do hope that this is more interactive than just me sitting and talking. Because now that we talked a little bit about it, I hope that it's a little bit more interactive for us. So dealing with iLoc, here we've got my data. Let's go ahead and let's just see what it looks like. So if I say sb.head, cool. So I've got this data right here. Now, already I've got this unnamed piece right here that we're going to have to attend to, right? This unnamed value, where sometimes this happens where I've got this data and it's already set up as like a pandas data frame, but then when I load it in, it creates another sort of index. So what I can actually do is say something like this. If I get this, and these are the exact same, and there's no point in having two of the same, what I can do is I can define my index by saying something like this. You say index call equals 1. If I say 1, it's going to take the first value. If I run this, great, run this again. And now you can see, oops, sorry, not 1, 0. And took the dates. Oh, yeah. So now we're good. Where now it's this value is 0. And so I just basically got rid of that unnamed 0. That's just something you always want to be aware of when I look at that. Makes sense? See how I reset that index? Cool. Cool. So we looked at my data. Let's say I am just looking at this and I want to practice my iLoc. If I wanted to return the entire 8th row of my series, what would I say? Anybody know?
That'd be like the SB with the brackets. Maybe?
Not brackets yet. So it's a dot
Oh,
iLoc.
dot iLoc, sorry, yeah. And then
Yeah. And then
the
what's
brackets.
iLoc? Yeah,
That
then
is
brackets.
only an index, or yeah, so integers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So if I wanted the 8th one, remember it's starting at 0. If I run this, this gets me all the values at that index. Now remember, I didn't have to do this. It automatically did that for me, right? Looks the same. But let's say, okay, so we got that. We used iLoc, we got that specific piece. If I wanted that as a series, this gives it back as a series, right? So return the entire 8th row as a series with a row number plus slicing all columns. So again, by doing this exact thing, this gives it back as a series versus perfect. Cool. Now, if I wanted the 8th through the 10th rows, what would I do?
8 to 11.
If I what?
I'm sorry, it would be 8 to 11. Because the
Okay.
second value is exclusive.
7 column. 10.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Well, if I wanted 8 through 10,
It would be
Oh,
the,
8,
what did we
Eight.
just do for 8th? 8th, we said, remember, we
8 to
started at
11.
0. So if it starts at 0, that's gonna be 7.
right, so
And then-
7
oh,
colon.
7 to 10. Right,
10.
7, 8 to 10, so you want 7 to 9.
Well, 9 is
10
gonna
minus
get me,
1.
remember, does
And
this
minus
work?
1, right?
This thing give me 7, 8, 9. Remember that if I wanted through the 10th rows,
Yeah, so then you do have, it's exclusive, right? You do gotta go to 11, right? Okay,
yeah,
no, because the 9 is the 10th row because it's starts at
and
zero.
minus
yeah.
1,
yeah.
that's right,
So
right,
it's 7
exactly.
colon 10.
Yeah. So then, yeah, perfect. Good catch. Yes, but if I wanted, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Nick. But yeah, this is the 8th through the 10th rows because it's 7th through 9th, because we start at 0. Cool. So let's say I just wanted to return the second value, just the value from the 8th row in the second column. So this date, what would I do?
So you'd write out the same
Comma
way
1.
we've had. Yeah,
Yeah, so if I do that, I'd say 7, comma 1. That gives me this guy right here. Yep, perfect. Now, if I wanted to return the second through the 5th columns in the 8th row, what would I do?
so it'd be 7,
Yeah, I Luke.
comma,
So,
2, 6,
no,
2 colon 6.
Remember, for the second, I did 1.
5.
One.
So I'm gonna say,
Oh, right.
7,
1,
One,
1
comma,
does 6.
colon 6, yeah,
5.
no, 5.
Oh, yeah.
this is iLoc, so it's a little bit more challenging. Because you're dealing, now you can see why you're like, wait, what? Like,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
It's,
Like-
I remember it starts at 0 for
Yeah,
everything.
it's like
Yeah.
N minus, it's N minus 1s, and then it might
Yeah.
be exclusive versus
Yeah.
inclusive.
Yeah, totally.
Top
Okay.
notch.
So I want to talk a little bit before we do anything. Let's talk about filtering before we get into like loc. If I wanted to get all the rows where the state is California, what could I do?
Create a
Yeah.
filter.
Low,
Yeah, okay. So let's call this state filter. What is that going to be equal to? Well, what I want to do is I want to take my data frame and I want to target the specific column that I want to deal with. Well, the question's asking me where the state is California, right? And if I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, okay, I do have state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say state,
okay.
just like
It would
that.
be an equal,
Equal,
Yeah, because it's a comparison operator, exactly.
and then
And then I'm gonna say
California.
California. Perfect. So if I run this, is this gonna work?
You
Yeah,
want
run
to run your filter, yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
on if that's how they recorded the state.
Yeah, but I don't see anything, right? So now I can say state filter dot head. And that gives me, it's just gonna give me the true and false.
You need to put this state filter inside the loc,
Yeah?
like
How would I do that?
brackets.
Okay.
SB dot loc, square bracket. State filter.
Okay. What's this gonna give me?
I mean,
Yeah.
That-
No,
well, that's not gonna give you anything. You need to set SB
All the Super
equals
Bowls in California.
Or- or in place. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's
all
gonna
the Super
show
Bowls in
me-
California.
it's gonna show me all the ones with the state of California, for sure. It's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna change my data frame, but that's not
Right.
necessarily, maybe I wanna do something like Cali SB equals this.
Yeah, there you go.
And then now you can see nothing happened, so I could say Cali SB. It'll give me all these values, so I could say dot head. Just look at the first 5. But now we can see that we've done this filter, we've used loc to say I want all the rows where this filter applies, right? Where this is true because we use loc, it's where the Boolean is true. Now, if I wanted to do something like this, but I wanted all the ones that weren't in California, now you can see I have a whole different thing, right? Because I use this tilde right here, but it's saying I want all of them that were not in California. In California.
Oh, look at that. That's interesting. So
Yeah.
you got like your state. If you look, everything's Florida. Because remember you wrote about the if you put it as California, there's that Florida, that FL.
Yeah, because now we're saying it's not California, right? Where that
Right.
Boolean, where this is not true.
Exactly. Like if we had one that was referencing out and we had written like Florida, right?
Mhm.
But that FL, so that would not have returned.
Correct, yeah.
That's 3.
So
That
if I
would
would've
not
had
have
a-
returned.
Correct. If I would have had a Florida filter, FL is not the same thing as Florida, so it would not have
Exactly.
returned. And so this is the idea of cleaning data. Cool. Okay. We just did that. Where'd it go? Okay. Let's do now. What if I wanted the head coaches' names using this?
Well, so that,
You can change the state to coach winner. Or is that what?
Well, what
the
if I wanted the
column
names
was?
of the head coaches whose team is from California?
so,
Or I'm assuming.
Would-
I guess
that
not.
be a
yeah, you'd
column?
have to, you couldn't use the California filter because that's where the Super Bowl is. You'd have to like filter by the teams.
Or let's say we wanted the winning coach who won in California.
Okay.
That's sorry, I got confused with the state. I forgot, I didn't realize that that's where it was at. Yeah,
Be
so let's say I
DF,
wanted it. Yeah, go ahead.
be df.loc and then, or sorry, where's sb.loc. And then in square brackets. And then whatever you put named your filter, I forgot it. Was it
I called it
state filter?
State Cali SB.
Cali SB is a different one. This
And
is
then
just my filter.
colon.
And let's say we want
Oh
to.
yeah, yeah, sorry, comma, and then coach winner.
Yeah, so this is doing that, right? And it's saying SB loc. It's applying this filter, but it's just giving me the values in that column. So if I run this, now I have all the guys who won in California.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Now we're going to move on to irrelevant data, which we've already changed our value to our index, sorry, to let's decide that we didn't want to change our index. We just wanted to drop that column instead. I'm actually going to do this. And then we got this guy still, and I've got this random column, right? This unnamed 0. Let's, instead of setting my index, I actually just wanted to drop it, right? I just wanted to get rid of that column. Anybody know what I could do here? This is my data frame, right? I want to say drop. Then what I want to say is the columns that I want to drop. In this case, I can drop multiple if I wanted, or I can drop
Zero?
one.
Unnamed.
Unnamed equals 0. Now, knowing that it is specific, if I didn't have the space here, not going to like that. It's going to look for this specific thing. Now, I can either say SB equals this, and that will work just fine. And then I can say, let me say SB dot head.
Whoop.
Is it because the 0 is in a string and it needs to be outside of that.
No. There's still some
Like the
wrong.
colon and then the zero that can be in the string.
Let's see, unnamed zero was not found in the access.
What's up with the,
It's
It's
because
because it's an
you
index.
set
and-
it to your
and-
index.
Yeah, you're
know, but
calling
I
this in
re-
a string.
But I did, and then I got rid of it and reran it, so it wouldn't have that.
If you're only doing one, you don't need brackets.
Oh. That's probably what I did. Cause I was talking and saying, we could do multiple, and then I put brackets. Okay,
Yeah, if you do multiple, you need the brackets, but if you do
Yeah.
one, then you just need the one. What? Okay.
Is there extra space in there?
are there too many spaces in there
I'm going
in
to
between
do
the
this.
0 and the colon?
I'm gonna run this and see what's going on. So it looks like for some reason it's still. It's being unnamed. Anyway, okay. I think I probably ran it and then I
Is it
did
'cause
dot
you're-
head. And it ran it again. That's what happened.
Are you?
So
You're
what
naming
happened is-
two variables
did-
to SB. Isn't
No,
that
it's
gonna?
what happened, what happened was I ran the value and it dropped the column. And then I said SB dot head, but then it went and redefined SB again. So it ran that top line again. And then it went to
Yeah.
drop a column that's already been dropped.
Right,
so
couldn't
now-
find it. You threw an
Couldn't
error.
find it. So now it works. Okay, sorry about that. What happened was, this is great if you guys get errors. What happened was I reset it up here, right? To where I didn't have the index. Didn't have the index, great. So if I were to say something like SB dot head, it's gonna have that value in there. So I'll just show you.
So actually, this is a good point though, Will, because the way you structured that, that's permanently changing your data frame. You're dropping that column outright where unless you rerun the code like you did here, that's it. That data is gone forever. You can't put it
Mhm.
back in. Okay,
Yeah, I'm dropping that column. So now if I look at it, I have unnamed here, right? But what I did was I ran this value.
Oh,
Didn't,
right.
okay,
Yeah,
I
that's
ran the value. So now if I were to do this and run this, it works, but I kept this undone. I ran the cell again. And when I run the cell again, it's now trying to redefine SB. It already knows what SB is. It already knows that this has been dropped, right? It's
Yeah.
trying to redefine it and it's trying to drop the column unnamed, but I've already dropped it, right? So that was the error that we
Yeah.
were running into.
You created a circular reference for yourself,
Yeah.
basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Makes sense?
Yeah.
I guess I just don't need to, I just have an error. I don't need to do anything with it. Cool. Okay, so if I just wanted to drop a column, that's how I could do that. Or just like Mandy showed us, if I needed to do multiple, I could do this. And then do, some other column name right here. I could do that. If I want to drop multiple at a time, I don't have to do like dot, drop, dot, drop, dot, drop. I can just add in multiple if I wanted. Cool. Again, I could, if I wanted to, instead of doing the SB, I could say something like this, where it says in place equals true. And then I don't have to say SB equals SB drop. I can just do it in place. Both are fine. Both work well.
Okay.
Now let's go ahead and check for some duplicate data. So if I have this, I have my SB, I can do something like this, where I can say SB dot duplicated. Now, if I say dot sum, what that's going to do is it's going to give me all the values of that are duplicated. So I have one duplicate within my data, right? So what I can do is something like this. If I wanted to see that, I can say SB. Then I have my data frame, and then I'm going to say SB dot duplicated. And let's see what this gives us. Now, this is going to give us our duplicated value, right? So here's my duplicate where I've got Phil Sims, Bill Parcells, et cetera, but I only see one thing. And that's because by default duplicated will just give you one value. It's going to give you the, if you look at this right here, it's going to keep the literal first, right? So it only gives you one of the values. If I wanted to see all of them, right? If I wanted to see just to make sure that they are duplicates, I could say something like this. I run this and now it's going to give me all the values that are duplicated, right? So now that's okay. I just had one duplicate and I can go through and say like, yep, nope, these are exactly the same. Cool. So now that I've seen these, what I can do is I can say something like this. I can say sb.drop duplicates, right? And then I want to say in place equals true. I want to make sure that now I don't have to, or I could say sb.drop duplicates, sb equals sb.drop duplicates. But in this case, I'm just going to do that. Now, again, I could check and say that duplicated dot sum and make sure that this is 0 and I don't have any duplicates. Okay. Now I know that I don't have any duplicates within my data. Any questions on dropping duplicates and hanging out in duplicates? Any questions there? Okay. If I wanted to see the different data types within my data, what could I do? There's a couple different options. Anybody remember?
Like describe or not describe, info.
Yeah, exactly. I could say sp.info. That's going to give me all of these values, right? It's going to give me a nice print where I've got data types, got my different pieces. I can see my non-null values. This looks like, again, if I'm looking at my data, something to kind of keep in mind is I'm looking and it says not null. If I've got 52 entries, right? And I have 40 not null, that means I got some missing data, right? So it's just something good to look at. I could also do something like data types. Data types equals, oops, sorry. sb.t types. Now let's show my data types. So I can see all my different data types if I wanted. Again, you're going to get, if you have like something from your subject matter expert, you can look and say, if this is supposed to be a number, but it is an object, means that there's a string. Maybe somebody put 40, maybe somebody did something of that nature. I can see with data types, it's a great thing. Let's say I wanted to see all of the strings. I could say like str, my string columns. So which columns are string objects? Let's say data types. And then I can actually filter that where data types equals object. And then I can just see my str calls. Now this gives me all the columns that the value is an object or a string. Any questions on how I did that? Just basically filtered my data types series with just this Boolean value. So it just returns.
That's a real question I had earlier today. Thank you.
Mhm.
It's one of those aha moments for me.
Yeah, good. So if I wanted to, I could say something like this. str calls.index. And this is going to get me all of those values. So the index, sorry, of the actual column names, which would be good. If I wanted to explore my data a little bit more, I could say something like this. I wanted str calls.index. If I wanted just all of the values of the string object, right? What I can do is I can actually run this and it's going to now give me only the values from the columns that are of type object. So even this, even though SB this in Roman numerals represents number 1, it's still what they consider a string. Any questions on that? So I'm taking my data frame. I'm saying I just want the values that are of string dot index. So I have this string dot index, which is all those column names. And these are all the ones str cols is just the ones that the data type is of an object. And then I just get all the values back from the columns that are just objects. Nothing to do with numbers here. Any questions? Okay.
Will, just had a quick
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah.
Within Google Colab, is there a way to add the lines like we see in VS Code
What do
when
you
you're
mean?
doing the code? Like within the snippet. So for example, like when you're creating the code, like, you know, when you get the line numbers,
Oh, yeah, there is. I just figured that out the other day.
how do you do that?
I knew that was gonna be
No,
the next
I'm not
question.
sure.
It was in the
Not sure what you're asking.
settings, like the line code, like the line number, right? Like line number
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
line number two, number three. Yeah.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. Cole, maybe
It
you can
was-
help out. This sounded like Neil's voice. Maybe you can help Neil figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on Discord. Maybe just throw it on Discord. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I will.
Little tip and trick. Cool. Cool. Now just wanted to go through a little bit more now if there's some missing values. Or wait, I think we missed a spot. Yeah. Syntax and spelling errors. This one is just, there's a little bit of a trick to it. So I want to show you what we could do. So I already have this str, and there's a reason why I picked strings. I have this str calls, right? Where these are my different ones that are strings. Now, if I looked at my data, if you guys looked at all, there are some different things that I can do where if I look, okay, this Bill Belichick has an underscore after it. So this data is not super duper clean. So what I can do is I can actually run a great thing to do is to run value counts. So if I wanted to do something like, if I wanted to see the coach loser, oh, Bill Belichick actually lost one. So if I say something like this, SB of dot value counts. What this is going to give me back, and this is huge for looking to see if my data is okay, right? We talked about the dog and the cat thing, because now I can look and say, oh, there's some differences here, right? Okay, Don Shula, Gray, Dan Reeves, Bill Belichick, but wait, Bill Belichick's also here. It's because this one has an underscore and this one does not, right? And so by doing value counts, it's a great way to sort of look and say, what are the categories? What are the values here? And are they similar? Now, obviously, if it was like something like a phone number, that's a unique value and that wouldn't make any sense. But for something like this, it's a great way that I can look through it. A little tip and trick. Now, this is a little bit more advanced, so let's walk through it a little bit. If I wanted to go through all of these and I wanted all the value counts and I wanted to be able to make sure that I could look at that, I can create a for loop where I'm going to say call in str calls. So I wanted to go through my string, all my string, my object columns. I could do that. What I want to do is I want to print. I'm gonna create an F string. And I'm gonna say that this, just so I was gonna have it run and look poorly, but we're running out of time. So I'm gonna do an F string and I'm gonna say this is call. Right, that's what call represents. It could have been anything, could have been unicorn, doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna say print. And then I'm gonna say SB call, right? Dot value counts. Then I want to drop in a equals plus. This is SB.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
And then lastly, I want to make sure that I have a little bit of space in between or else it's not going to give me that. So I'm just going to do a new line in Python. You just do this. So I want some spaces. It's just a new line. So if I run this, let's see what happens. It's gonna give me an error. SB called a kind of felt in a false. Doesn't like this one. Let's see. Oh, I think it's because I haven't. Type O object. Oh, Mandy, do you see what's going on?
I am
Mhm.
absolutely terrible at functions, so I'm of no help.
The for loop or call represents. Is this strcols? Yeah. It literally, I hate this statement, but it works on my code, on my other one.
Is it because the strings columns is like a filter instead of a data frame?
You have to indent that second print.
No, because it,
I know like that's normally when I see the squiggly lines, it's yelling at me for something like that.
you type O. Hmm. I'll try something. Just to get this up and working. Wondering if it's the date that's acting super weird.
You didn't actually run it because you had the comments.
Oh, I did the space. Oh. Alright. Oh my goodness. Sorry, friends. Now you can see even I get confused with what I've done. Okay. Redefine. Let's drop.
Well, Will, to be honest, you did warn us that this is all the fun.
Yeah, I know.
The joys of data cleaning.
Yeah. Híjole, what is going on? None type. I'll do this type.
I'd just do
Oh,
a good old
this-
runtime all or run before. Oh, you
Friends,
have
this
both,
is a
yeah.
great error for you to see. I made a big boo-boo where this none type object has an attribute of head. What happens is this, when I put in place equals true, this does not return anything. Returns none. And so what happens is because I have in place equals true and I have the redeclaration of my data frame, now SB equals none because this doesn't return anything. So this is a great show to say you cannot have in place equals true and a redeclaration. So pick one of them and then go from there. There we go. That's what that issue is. Go here. Okay. Let's go here.
Yeah, but that's okay, because you were tinkering with this before we went off, so.
I was. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'll make sure in the solutions that it is correct. I'm not quite sure what's going on. And I just want to make sure, actually, that's about it. We're out of time. But I will be sending a solutions page for you guys. That way you do have a solutions and some pieces and just some more code. That way you actually can visually see how some of this code comes into play, because today was really mainly slides. So, and I'll keep working on this. Any questions of what we've talked about, friends? Again, we're going to go through a lot of this stuff tomorrow with the Titanic as well. Great. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will have the recording up very shortly.
Thanks, Will. This is
Take
super
care,
helpful.
guys. Yeah, of course. Take care.
All right, have a good night.
You too.